Okay, Connie, you want to kick things off here with the recording?
Yep, done.
Okay. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining today's GoPro presentation on predictive intelligence and the predictive intelligence capabilities within ServiceNow. My name is Mobeen Vaid. I'll be leading today's session alongside a colleague named David Williams. I'll do a quick introduction of myself, walk through the agenda, and then we'll get right into the session. A little bit about me. I'm a solution consultant within ServiceNow, and I cover our federal healthcare accounts. I am local to the DC area, so I guess having some nice weather these days. But yeah, been around federal and federal healthcare for some time. Really excited about this session and some of the topics that we're going to be able to talk about today. I'll kick things over to David really quickly to do an introduction. For him to do an introduction about himself real quick. David?
Yeah, hey, welcome everybody. My name is David Williams, working alongside Mobeen today, partners in crime. I'll be giving the demo portion of today's demo. So as well, I've been a solution consultant for a little bit of time now, just over a year or so. It's a very exciting time for us at ServiceNow, and we're really looking forward to what we have to share with you all today. So back to you, Mobeen.
Cool. Thanks, David. I guess we'll go ahead and jump into our session today. A couple of things. Number one, please double check to see if you're on mute or not. I think a few times I've heard some background noise, and so if you can please mute your line, that'd be helpful. For everyone, this session is being recorded, and so we'll provide it as a follow-up alongside the presentation and the deck that we're going through. For questions, please go ahead and ask your questions in the chat. What we'll do is we'll save those questions, and if there's time in the middle, we'll try to get to them, or we'll just save them until the end there. So we'll start off by giving an overview about the topic itself. Then we'll dive into predictive intelligence, highlight the capabilities and sort of what they are. What do we mean by predictive intelligence when we say that? We'll transition from there into a demo, and then we'll talk about next steps, which is really going to be a lot of resources and content material that's going to help you to get more familiar with it and really even get hands-on with the application. And then we'll open it up and address some of the Q&A. Go to the next slide here. So those of you who have been participating in this series on predictive intelligence and ITSM professional capabilities, last week we had a session on virtual agent. Today we're focusing on predictive intelligence, and then you'll see these other three topics are going to be hit across the next 3 weeks. As you can see here, you're seeing some statistics around benefits that organizations have received by leveraging these capabilities. So incident deflection by way of virtual agent, predictive intelligence really giving that boost to agents in terms of making them more efficient in doing their job. Now, these numbers and percentages are reflective of studies that we've done with customers. Some of these numbers are industry studies as well, and some of them are also informed by what we've seen as an organization with our Now on Now platform. And so that's really ServiceNow's usage of its own application. And so, we like to say we drink our own champagne, right? Or drink our own Kool-Aid here. And so you're seeing some of the benefits that organizations have received and appreciated as a result of leveraging these platform capabilities. And so you're seeing across there the 5 pillars of the ITSM Pro package that all work together, and today the predictive intelligence stuff. And so diving into predictive intelligence, what we're going to do to start today off is we're going to start off with a poll question here. Give me 1 second and launch this poll. 1 second here. Let me just get the polling going. And so what I'm going to do is prop up a question for the group just to start getting people's thinking going about predictive intelligence. So which capability of predictive intelligence is something that you can see your organization leveraging? And so feel free to go ahead, just respond to that polling question. We'll give it a second here for people to respond. A couple of responses that we've received. Okay, about halfway there with responses. We've got 7 people that still need to respond. I'll close up the poll here after a minute and just talk a little bit about what we're seeing with the response. And we'll talk through all these capabilities that are there in the question as we go through the presentation here. So 10 more seconds. And let's close it out right here. Okay, so it gives a final 20 seconds here for participants to submit responses. So now we're at a 10-second countdown. Oh. Okay, so what we're seeing by way of poll results, a lot of distributed results actually. So Agent Assist seems to be a big point of interest. So leveraging the Similarity Framework. And so we'll definitely show that as part of the demo today, and we'll talk through it. The automatic categorization and assignment of incidents, we saw some good traction there. And then knowledge demand insight, not as many people, so about 7% responding on that. But the top 2 really taking up good chunk of those who responded. So very cool. That said, we can sort of track forward here and talk a little bit about what predictive intelligence is and what it enables. So you think about predictive intelligence and artificial intelligence, these are capabilities that you end up interacting with in a lot of other systems as well, especially consumer-facing systems. This is really enabling those same capabilities within the enterprise. And predictive intelligence allows employees to focus on more meaningful work by powering those workflows with machine learning. So now routine tasks get automated. You're getting quicker resolution. You're enabling deflection. So fewer and fewer users actually have to submit incidents, right? That they're able to figure things out on their own. And we're enabling all of that through these capabilities that just facilitate the end user experience, whether it's an employee or customer, or alternatively, making life easier on our agents and fulfillers that are actually having to track these incidents that come in and support them. So let's talk about some of the benefits that come out of predictive intelligence. A big one is just that CSAT, right? Customer satisfaction, improving efficiency, but also working faster, working smarter, right? You start looking at statistics around how long it's taking us to close out some of these incidents, especially ones that are routine, ones that we see coming in a lot. How do we get done with those quicker? Especially when we might have different people in the help desk or different agents that just have a big load that they're shouldering, right? Some of that can be supported by just automating activities, right? We're getting a lot of people who come in and just need to reset their password or do sometimes tasks that are really rudimentary, right? Things that should be easier for them to figure out and that we can help them out with. Big value add of our predictive intelligence capabilities is that you don't need a data science expert to really come in and configure it. It's configurable within the platform. You have a guided setup, right? You have templates out of the box that facilitate with rolling this out, and then you can tweak it and configure it to your own business need. And you're seeing that fast time to value, 0 coding, right? So you're not having a developer go in and have to write something complex. You're just having capabilities that are there within the platform that can start being configured and used. And so there are a couple of frameworks that machine learning traverses within the application platform. The first of these that you're seeing here on the left is the natural language understanding. And so what that does is based on what the end users put in, like that syntax, we're actually starting to interpret that more intelligently. So we're saying, okay, people are putting in a question and, email an issue. And now what we can do is present relevant content and information to help them diagnose their problem and really figure out how they can solve it, either on their own or for the agent themselves. When we talk about classification here, we're talking about auto-populating fields that are critical to the actual incident or case. And so that may include things like how we're categorizing those activities or subcategorizing them. It may also help us determine what the right assignment group is or who this should be assigned to. Similarities, I think, are pretty straightforward, right? So what we're doing is we're linking available incidents to similar incidents or relevant knowledge articles, right? So we're saying, okay, you know, we're trying to resolve this. Here's how we've resolved other incidents that are like this one, right? And so we're creating those linkages to give agents that additional insight, right? Someone else in the organization's already done this. You don't have to start from scratch. And figuring out where that information sits and resides, something that agents are able to do, you know, without having to do big email blasts, calling people up, right? We're enabling collaboration in a way that's automated, doesn't require a lot of any manual intervention. And then that last part is clustering. This is a really, really powerful part of the platform when you start talking about plugging knowledge gaps and having more efficiency. So what we can do is, you know, even with incidents, right? You can have a lot of incidents that are taking place and you say, you know what, we're relating all of these incidents together. And what we might have here is a major incident that needs to be created, right? And we can correlate all of those individual incidents to that major incident record, and clustering is actually surfacing up that recommendation for us based on an analysis of the platform and the activities that are occurring within it. Now, a little bit about the journey within ServiceNow and what we've done. You know, a lot of organizations today talk about machine learning, artificial intelligence, natural language understanding. But then the question is, you know, how has this really been enabled within the applications? What's the work that's been done? How simple is it to leverage and use? And for ServiceNow, this is a journey that we've been on for some time. And so you're seeing there some of the tools that we've acquired to help enable those capabilities within the platform. Starting in January 2017, right? Enabling intelligent automation. Clue, also in 2017, conversational virtual agent. Parlo you're seeing there in May of 2018, and so that was, you know, natural language understanding. We also have additional acquisitions that we've made. So Loom within AI Ops, so that helps us analyze metric data, so we can now proactively address issues, right? So we're seeing that built out within ITSM and our IT operations management tool. Passage AI as well, conversational AI company. So now what we're doing is leveraging that natural language understanding and conversational capabilities across multiple languages, right? So not just doing one language, but also additional languages. So if it's an inquiry that comes in German or Japanese or another language, the idea is that all of our core capabilities and the virtual agent, everything else can still address that. So what you're seeing is us as an organization really making serious investments in machine learning and streamlining all of that within the platform in a way that's simple to adopt, simple to leverage, and simple to use. Now, what have those investments produced for us, right? What it does is it enables our customers to really take advantage of these capabilities in the way that's secure. And so we recognize the uniqueness of our customers and different organizations. And obviously, this is especially so in the federal space, where a lot of agencies are a snowflake, right? They have their own peak times when it comes to production activities. They have their own vernacular and language and syntax. They have their own mandates and requirements, right? And being able to have a predictive intelligence capability set that's responsive to that, right, is important. Because what you want is accuracy. What you want are predictions that actually enable the business and don't impede the business, right? Things that aren't just set in stone and that reflect, you know, organizations and businesses that have no relatability to what you do versus having something that's really learning, which is really learning based on your own use of the application, and that allows you to go in and tweak and configure that to be updated, right? So updating automatically and also updating through, things that you can do to see, hey, here's an area in which we can have it capture something that's really specific and unique to our business. So with that said, we'll be kicking things off here, and I'll be transitioning over to David for the demo. These are the personas that you're going to be seeing with Joe Employee and Linda Jackson. You're going to see a lot of capabilities, right? The service portal and the agent experience. But with that said, let me hand things over to him.
Yeah, thanks, Mobeen. If you could just stick on this slide real quick. So everybody, for our demo today, we are going to go through two different personas, really to help emphasize where predictive intelligence is providing value to different types of individuals within the enterprise. So the first persona we're going to see is Joe Employee. We're going to check out that service portal. So if you had the chance to join the other ITSM Pro session last week, then you would have had some exposure to virtual agents. So we'll touch very lightly on it, but today's emphasis is going to be around how an end user can take advantage of predictive intelligence frameworks within the virtual agent to help them either troubleshoot or get incidents assigned to the proper area in the support desk. And then once we take care of that, we're going to switch things over to the back end. Check out Agent Workspace from Linda Jackson's persona. She's our Tier 1 agent. And so what we're going to do is identify those few key areas that are really help saving lots of time for those agents in terms of automatic assignment and a few other areas that we're going to touch deeper on, but really identify those areas where predictive intelligence is optimizing the way our agents are working. And then lastly, we are still going to stay in Linda Jackson's persona, but we'll take a look at the platform UI. That way we can kind of touch on how we can configure these machine learning solutions. And the reason we want to do that is because it can seem like a daunting task, right? Machine learning, configuring these, it could take a lot of effort. But what I want to show you all today is that with a few key simple steps, you're going to be able to get this implemented into your system fairly quickly. So without further ado, Mobeen, I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to go ahead and take control here.
Sure.
Presenter, share screen. All right, so this will be the first and only time I ask, I promise, but Mobeen, help me out. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen.
All right, perfect. We're off to the right start. So, all right, as I mentioned, everybody, today we are going to walk through a couple different personas. So I'd like to tell a story to help really identify the value here. So for our story today, Joe Employee is a regular employee at ServiceNow, comes into work this morning, and his email is not working. What does he do? First and foremost, go to the service portal. And now what we're going to check out is how he can walk himself through submitting an incident using virtual agent. So as you can see here, and let me move our faces. So as you can see here, we're opening up virtual agent. So virtual agent, again, there was a session on it last week. If you didn't get the chance to see it, please check out the recording. There's lots of good information there. But what we're going to do is start to walk through the self-remediation process. So for Joe today, email's not working. That first part of predictive intelligence is natural language understanding. So, for Joe, he's going to type email is not working. It's very standard. We're not using Boolean operators or anything. Standard language. As that comes in, that first step is that the virtual agent is going to try to identify the intent here. So basically, what is Joe Employee trying to get done, or what is he actually looking for assistance with? So right here, it gives a couple of different options. But today it's email issues, right? Email's not working. And basically at this point, virtual agent has started to narrow down his what he's looking to get done today. And so we're going to see that first part of predictive intelligence very soon. So now that we've gotten down to what type of issue, we understand, okay, we're having email issues. Well, get us down even further. What kind of email issue? Can't send email. So now we have identified that the entity so the intent is getting assistance, and the entity is email. We want assistance with email. Natural language understanding is going through this process to help understand, okay, what is Joe asking for, and how can I help? And that first line of defense right here is this kind of messaging we have here. And so, the reason this is here is it kind of acts as as incident deflection, right? If we could go through this first step in troubleshooting and it works out, great. We don't need to submit an incident, but that wouldn't be as much fun. So for today, we're going to say that, hey, these steps did not work. So now that it hasn't worked, what you're seeing is that similarity framework at play here. So what has happened is virtual agent has identified the intent, which is can't send or need assistance with email. And so based on that description of email issues, can't send email, the virtual agent has divin through a couple different resources here available, and it looks like the knowledge base. And what it's done is it's surfaced similar knowledge articles, right? So that's where predictive intelligence is coming in for that first line of deflection here, is because it's bringing in knowledge articles that may be relevant towards helping Joe self-remediate. Again, if we can self-remediate for our employees, then the agents can work on more complicated tasks. So right there, we see these similar knowledge articles. Again, we're going to go ahead and assume that Joe read through them and they did not work. System's not perfect, almost, but the system's not perfect. So for that being said, we're going to go ahead and move forward and say, no, this did not resolve our issue. So after selecting no, basically it's that last step here. Virtual agent says, okay, I've understood what you're asking. I've provided you with a few different similar knowledge articles. Last step, do you want to open an IT ticket? Yes, we absolutely do. So this is where we're going to see another concept from predictive intelligence come into play here. So as we can see, the virtual agent has in fact opened an incident on behalf of Joe. Now, those areas where predictive intelligence is coming into play is the classification, right? So of this incident, what category does it go to? Well, based on the understanding from virtual agent of this being an email issue, it knows to categorize this incident in the software category. That's that first step of classifying where does this need to go. And then it takes it a level deeper. What's particular group within that support group that can help with software issues? What particular group are we assigning it to? So now we've classified that it goes to the software support group, right? And again, this is saving a ton of time, because rather than having incidents come into the queue, stacking hundreds of incidents and trying to analyze, read through them and assign them, we're letting the system take the work out of it for us. And by applying that machine learning solution, not only are we able to classify where this incident is going, but it's going to continuously learn, so that if it's not 100% accurate, it will continue to learn based off of the previous incidents coming in to further give confidence towards where or what type of classification is going to be provided. So you can already start to see a few different areas where the predictive intelligence is starting to save time, not only just for the user, because it was very simple for Joe to identify how to submit this incident, but also for the agent, because now it is directly going to be routed to somebody within the software group and they can get moving. They didn't have to assign. So again, today we just wanted to focus in terms of virtual agent on the predictive intelligence aspect, but these are huge advantages that you can absolutely take care of, and it's very simple to configure. And again, we'll touch on that later, but just food for thought. So with that being said, now that the incident has been submitted, anything else we can help with? Nope, you've done your job. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and switch over to Linda Jackson, who once again is our Tier 1 agent on the back end. So at this point, what you're viewing, by the way, I'm logged in as Linda Jackson now. We are in a different persona. What we're viewing is her agent workspace. And so this agent workspace is that one-stop shop that we have our agents go to in the morning to really help identify what work do they need to take care of first. And in that same vein of helping them identify the prioritization of their work, what we have is this inbox area. So real quick, not to confuse it with a general inbox queue, this inbox is specific to Linda. And so this is where that predictive intelligence is going to come in again. So how this is working. Right now, this particular incident that was just submitted by Joe, it has not been put into a queue. It has been assigned directly to Linda. Now, the way it's been directly assigned to Linda is through what we call advanced work assignment, which helps the system analyze kind of the information and the incidents and assign it to an agent. But on top of that, predictive intelligence is really coming in here, because it has also helped to identify, based on previous incidents that have been assigned, we are going to continue to analyze those. And now we've also identified Linda, based on however many incidents are in the system, Linda is the best fitted agent for this particular case, or for this particular incident, right? So now we can see that aside from the automatic categorization and that classification framework, now we're also taking it one step further and using that same framework to identify Linda as the best fitted agent for the job. So again, it's saving a lot of time, because not only are we not manually assigning these incidents, but they are the optimal agent. And so as you'll see, again, you know, it is a machine learning solution. It's constantly learning. It's in the name, right? So if it's not correct, we have the ability to let the agents train the system, right? So it can tell them to reject it, give them the reason why, puts it back into the system. It's going to take that into account the next time it's going through this process. But for today, the system did work correctly. Linda is the best fitted agent for this particular incident, so we could dive in here. Now again, today is all about predictive intelligence. So let's take a look at some of those actions already taken. So in this details tab here, we can see a variety of fields have already been pre-populated, once again, due to that predictive intelligence solutions or those classification solutions. So what we can see is, once again, the category has automatically been determined to be the software category. We can identify how did they contact support, and on top of that, we can see that, again, the assignment group has automatically been identified, and the assigned to has automatically been identified. Again, lots of automation going here. It's very quick, and that is the point. We want it to be as easy as possible for agents to pick up an incident and get moving on remediation. So kind of talking about remediation, that segues into that next area where predictive intelligence is benefiting the agents, which is agent assist. So in this particular area in agent assist, predictive intelligence is working in a few different ways. So if you think about it, the classification of the incident was done through a classification solution, right? It has identified how do we classify these incidents. So where agent assist comes in is starting with that similarity framework. So what it's going to do is recommend several relevant pieces of information from various different resources and surface those directly in front of the agent. So now, instead of swivel chairing to a different system to try to do some research on remediation tactics, the research can not only be done directly from within the workspace, but the automation has already taken place because we can see that that short description has been used as context for that similarity. And now we're seeing knowledge articles that are potentially relevant to help with resolving this issue. So once again, I repeat, this is a huge time save because now we do not need to navigate to other systems. Everything within the system is up for grabs, is able to be used in terms of remediating these types of incidents, right? So if we have knowledge articles in the system already, we want to bring that forth to the agent so he doesn't have to go search. But let's say that Linda doesn't want to read through knowledge articles. Let's say she wants to look through various other resources. No problem at all. The Similarity Framework can be configured to search through any type of resource we have within the system, right? So, for example, if we wanted to see similar, let's say similar incidents, right? Maybe there's none in the system. I believe there should be outages. Perfect. So let's say we wanted to reconfigure that search to find similar incidents that are pertaining to an outage, right? So again, these incidents, these records are in the system. So if we could surface that and bring that forth to the attention of the agent, now they can identify, hey, it looks like there is an outage. So maybe this email issue is related to that. We can start to tie our incidents together, really start to streamline that process of identifying, kind of deeper issues here and then working from the ground up. So a lot of different capabilities here, but the point being, using a similarity framework, that's going to take a lot of the research and a lot of the time out of finding relevant information. So, with that being said, like, for example, if we go back to, let's say, similar knowledge articles, right? So if we were to do this, again, there we go, let's go. There it is. So if we go back to knowledge articles, again, since this has been brought forth, not only do we want to be able to let the agent know, hey, there is similar knowledge articles, but we give them a direct link to read it. So they can go through, read this knowledge article, and then as that kind of final step, right, the predictive intelligence has taken us this far. Now the next step is that, well, what if we want to identify, hey, this is the knowledge article that, that Joe employee would be able to use to self-remediate. Well, instead of typing it out, he could attach it and it'll be attached directly to this incident. So once again, we are providing a very end-to-end experience here, and we're providing a very holistic experience here, all from within the agent workspace. And so we've identified first how we're saving enormous amounts of time by using that predictive intelligence or using the machine learning solutions to help identify the right agent. And then it's taken it a step further to help the agent remediate the issue itself. So again, now we can start to put the pieces together in terms of all the various ways that predictive intelligence is not only helping our end users, but helping our agents to do their job more effectively. So with that being said, now that we've seen the end user, how they can take advantage, the agent, how they can take advantage, I've mentioned a few times, this is very simple to configure. It's not a daunting task. So let me give you a quick sneak peek into what I'm talking about. So here we are in the platform UI, right? This is where the admin can start to configure some of these solutions. So as Mobeen has touched on in the slides, there are a couple of different frameworks that could be taken advantage of from predictive intelligence, natural language understanding, classification, similarity, clustering. But the point in case being, we can configure whatever solution we want, and we can configure it in whatever way that we want. So the first kind of way we'll touch on that is by touching on these classification solution definitions. So to give you a brief walkthrough, a very simple example that should shed quite a bit of light into what we're talking about for this incident, let's say this incident assignment classification, right? This solution here. So what we're doing is we're looking at historical data, looking at the data from within the incidents in the system, and then what we're doing is telling it to run a solution and derive an output based on that historical data. So once again, looking at what's in the system, analyzing the information, driving an output. So with that concept in mind for incident assignment, this is how we got that incident assigned to Linda. First, what did we want to do? Well, we wanted the machine learning solution to reference the incidents in the incident table. What did we want it to analyze? We wanted it to analyze that short description field. So for example, the can't send email. Now, what did we want it to do after it's analyzed that short description? Provide an output, and that output is the assignment group. So once again, this was very simple to configure. Mobeen touched on the fact that we can do this with no coding. Ladies and gentlemen, I do not know how to code a single line of code, and yet I'm able to configure this solution right here from within ServiceNow's platform. So again, there's a lot of different capabilities and huge time saving, and not to mention money saving as well, because an admin can configure this and you don't need to pay a developer or an FTE developer, right? So again, a lot of different advantages to take care of here. So, again, we're talking about the various solutions within predictive intelligence. So very same format here in the similarity definition. So for example, when we were in the agent assist from the agent perspective, we took a look at similar knowledge articles. Well, that didn't just magically appear. I wish it did, but it didn't. The way that we did it is we identified, okay, we want predictive or machine learning to identify similarities. What do we want it to do? Take a look at the knowledge articles in the knowledge table, analyze the text, short description fields, and what we want it to do is based on that, bring forth relevant knowledge articles to the attention of the agent. And the reason we have this update frequency here is because maybe there are new knowledge articles being input into the system every day. For an enterprise level organization, it's very difficult to keep tabs on all of these things, and as you shouldn't, right? So what we can do is keep the machine learning running, right? So we can configure every 1 day, run a scheduled job, update, add those new knowledge articles into the system, or vice versa. If we're end of lifing certain knowledge articles, we'll take them out because maybe they're not so relevant anymore. And so where this really starts to come into play in terms of value is we can update the knowledge article every 1 day. But let's say it's something more imperative, like major incidents, right? We want to know, we want to bring forth major incidents. So maybe every 1 hour, we'd want that to update. So that way we can have as much of the relevant information possible available to those agents for usage in terms of remediation. So you can start to put the pieces together and start to get some ideas in your head. These are just a couple of examples of the way that we've configured the machine learning solutions to help both the end user and the agent. But the possibilities are truly endless when it comes to setting up some solutions for your own organization. So last thing we'll kind of touch on is, so let's say, we've gone through how we can configure those solutions. Well, once we've configured a solution, so once again, we're going back to my reference of the incident assignment, how do we test it? How do we make sure it worked, right? We don't want to just kind of set a solution and then let it go, right? So here is where we can start to identify, okay, it has analyzed we've ran the solution, it's analyzed all of the incidents of the queue. It starts to give you some numbers around how accurate is it, what is that accuracy level in terms of finding the correct incident assignment area. So what I mean by that is, let's say, we know that it's 98% 96% accurate. Well, let's start to test it. So there's a few different ways that you can actually test your solution. And again, the reason we want to do this is because now we can start to identify, hey, maybe we're not as accurate as we'd like to be. So let's kind of add some more things in, change a few different metrics to really help starting to optimize the solution. But for example, let's say that we want to test this. So if somebody puts email, the word email, into maybe virtual agent, right? Or when they're submitting an incident, the word email. If the solution identifies the word email, how accurate will it be in terms of helping to assign it to the right support group? Well, if we type email, we can run the test. And just like that, it looks like the machine learning solution with 99% confidence will assign this particular incident with the keyword email to the right support desk. So again, we can see a lot of value here, not only in being able to easily configure the solution, but test our solutions to make sure that they are optimal. Because at the end of the day, we want this to provide benefit, right? So just because we ran the solution doesn't mean we're going to put it into play. If it's 50% accurate, we're going to go back to the drawing board. But this area really allows you to start to dive down and really optimize the solutions there. So below you'll see, this is where it'll start to break down, okay, how confident will we assign incidents to these particular different support groups? So it really gives you a breakdown of all the information. So really you can get as granular or as high level as possible with your solutions, and as well we can test it for accuracy. So with that all said and done, today we walked through the end user, which was Joe employee, talked about virtual agent, talked about how predictive intelligence comes into play with that classification framework. We're saving a ton of time by automatically classifying and assigning it to the right group. And then when we switched over to the back end, we saw Linda Jackson's persona. We saw how not only did the incident get directly assigned to her and correctly, but now she was able to take advantage of similar resources within the system due to that Similarity Framework and start to pick through and find whatever resources she found most beneficial to help her really start the remediation process. And then again, once again, the point being, this shouldn't be a scary or daunting task. The main takeaways that we really want you to keep in mind here is that the solutions are constantly learning. They're constantly updating. We can get as much of an accurate desired output as we want, and they're pretty quick to test for validity. So again, there are a lot of takeaways here, but at the end of the day, now that we've seen it all, how can we, the next question could be, how can we easily track, how well is it performing? We've configured these solutions, predictive intelligence is up and running. What is the value that we're deriving? So that's where we can take advantage of something like a performance analytics dashboard around predictive intelligence. So this is just a quick snapshot I took earlier, but you kind of get the point here where you can configure reports to help us identify whether or not our predictive intelligence is performing correctly, right? So we can identify a few different reports here that we can put on the dashboard, but once again, it's just as simple as possible to get it started, get it running, and make sure that we maintain the solutions. So with that, that does conclude the demo portion of today's demo. I know we covered quite a bit of content, so I'm going to go ahead and let Mobeen take things back over, and then we will continue on with the demo or with the presentation.
Thanks, David. I'll go ahead and take presenter rights back again, and then go ahead and share my screen. Okay. Can everyone see my screen okay?
Yep.
Okay. So again, just sort of recapping a little bit of what you saw in the demo. You saw those two personas with Linda Jackson and Joe Employee. You were able to see the virtual agent, the way that an end user can navigate across it, submit an incident directly from there, have that automated classification take place. And then you saw Linda Jackson going in and some of the benefits that she got as an agent when she was looking it up, reviewing knowledge articles that were related to it, outages, right, that might be tied to the incident to give additional insight into why it might be occurring, right? And then we went into the platform and saw some of the capabilities and where all of that's configured. Pushing forward here real quick, I was gonna now launch our next poll question. So give me a second here and launch our polling. And so, yes. Nope. No. Okay. And let me go ahead and open up this poll. So this question will be around natural language understanding. Give it about a minute here for people to respond. And so if you're going ahead and seeing that poll question, just feel free to respond there. And this is really more of a knowledge check here. Well, we're about coming up on 30 seconds here. Got about 7 people that have responded, so about half the group. We're going to be on a 20-second countdown in a second here, so let's go ahead. Let's see here. Okay, so we just went ahead and closed it out. So responses, thankfully, everyone got it right? So whoever responded got the question right. So natural language understanding, right? It's really understanding that end user intent, right? And presenting relevant feedback. So good on everyone for getting that question right. So let's talk a little bit about next steps. And so our next steps here are really just going to be going over some content that I think is really useful for anyone here who's interested in really building on this webinar and learning more about the capability set. The first is an ebook. And so this is a predictive intelligence ebook that you can access. A lot of good information around predictive intelligence within the platform, and just different things that we've done for organizations. And so you'll see use cases in there, and then in addition to that, a lot of good material that goes over the capabilities themselves. In addition to that, there's a data sheet that's available. So you're talking about something that's a bit tighter, right? So a couple of pages that goes through the actual capability set, what the business challenges are, and then the ServiceNow solution that we're providing, and the benefits that can be gleaned from that. Also a white paper, so data sheet, white paper, ebook, right? Whatever type of collateral you're sort of interested in reviewing, right? We have it here, right? And so a lot of material, depending on the different type of user that you want to surface this type of information up to or circulate it around within your own organization. We have forms of collateral that can be pulled down and leveraged for those users. And so you'll have all these links provided to you within the presentation that we disseminate as sort of a follow-up to all of this. You'll also see on a customer success site, we have a success playbook. And so this is really getting into more details around, let's demystify the concept. Let's look at what we need to do to really start a pilot with predictive intelligence. Let's get some insights about, what's a good governance process for really making use of predictive intelligence within our enterprise. And then the Now Learning. And so this is a really, really nice course that you can take, Predictive Intelligence Fundamentals and Implementation. Also, we have this one out here for Orlando that can be taken. Free course, right? You can enroll, take it, about 3 hours. Gives you a lot of information on the ML and predictive intelligence solutions, explaining some of the concepts that we went through today in a little more detail, and gives you examples of how that ServiceNow instance is trained. And so a lot of good information as part of that course that can be signed up for within the Now Learning site. Yeah, and then, if you want to get hands-on, you can test it out yourself. So getting one of those PDIs, right, a personal developer instance, or just trying this out in a sub-production instance, right, a sub-prod, non-prod instance that you might have within your organization that you're authorized to just go in and tweak and play around with, you can go ahead and do this, right? The personal developer instance is something you can sign up for and queue up for free. And so that's directly on the ServiceNow developer site. Once you have that, you can go ahead and just leverage our documentation and some of that other information that's there, both within the learning course and on our doc site, to help just start taking your hand at it and building things out. So some of the use cases, and again, this just gives you some of the benefits that we're seeing here. Reduction in resolution times with sort of some of the capabilities here with Agent Workspace. The cost savings, right? That's a big one, right? How can we really become more efficient? How do we reduce our overall operational and resource costs, right? This is the name of the game, right? We're trying to become more efficient, trying to improve customer satisfaction, and we want to save money as part of that process, right? Get some of those win-wins, right? And then 77% you're seeing incidents resolved on first assignment with predictive intelligence. So we're not having to queue these incidents up through multiple groups, multiple organizations, multiple departments. We're not having to reach out to different optives and personnel. We're able to figure out those incidents right away, really cut that time in half. So with all of that said, I guess we can open things up. Last I checked in the chat, we didn't have any questions, but we can go ahead and look. If people have questions, I guess they can ask it in the chat, or they can alternatively come off mute as well and ask any questions that they have about this topic. So I don't see any questions coming down. Okay, perhaps there are no questions, but you can always follow up with us, and you will be getting all of this follow-up email collateral. Feel free to reach out as a response to that email, and you can contact me, you can contact David. We'll just get it queued through to us, and any activities, any information that you need, just let us know here.
Yeah, if I could add one more thing.
Sure.
So everyone on the call, if you do have any questions as well, you do have Mobeen and I's names, but as well, I'm going to put in the chat an email. That is an email where if you send a technical question in there, the Demo Center team will try to answer the questions as quickly and thoroughly as possible. So aside from me and Mobeen as a resource, please feel free to fire away any questions into that email I put in the chat, and you should have answers as thorough as possible. So hopefully that additional resource will help as well.
Awesome. Well,